Welcome to Bet on NFL edition, NFL Week 8 to be specific, powered by Wager Talk TV. I am Kelly Stewart. Let's bring in Marco D'Angelo and Joe Raineri. Another great week for us, so we're going to pat ourselves on the back for the haters in the comment section. I know I had a rough start, but guess what? We are back, baby. We're going to get right into these primetime games, but first, Marco, how was your NFL Sunday?
We had a great Sunday for our premium clients. We hit both of our 4% plays. Had a dog win outright in Atlanta, and then our NFL game of the week couldn't have been any easier. We had the Baltimore Ravens that just absolutely took the Lions out behind the woodshed for a good old-fashioned beating. So looking forward to another big week, Kelly, with the NFL action. Our best bet on the show here ended up a push. If you waited and bet it on Sunday, you actually got a half-a-point winner because it was 47.5. But we had the over in the Charger KC game. Do you remember 41 points at the half? And we only got one touchdown in the second half for a push. That was fun watching the second half of that game.
Yeah, that sounds very miserable, Marco, and I'm very glad that I did not have to subject myself to that because, well, anyway, that being said, I didn't want to get Brandon Staley. Joe Raineri, how was your Sunday?
Yeah, that good old Brandon Staley. Yeah, hopefully he'll lose this week too, and then we can cash that first coach to be fired. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Or maybe next week.
Like
next week.
The Chargers and Survivor, and I thought at least maybe I could get John Murray, or Ariel, or somebody to like buy in on maybe another team, like such as like one of the ones we have to use on Thanksgiving. Like we can burn one now. Nope. Everybody wants to go Chargers across the board, and I'm going to be on an airplane Sunday night. Pray for those next to me. I'm just going to say that if the Chargers go down early, Anyway, so back.
Well, we just need them to survive, right? They can win this week and then proceed to lose the next two, and then we cash the first coach being fired this year, Brandon Staley, and I love that because he has got to go there. I was in person to see the Buffalo Bills melt down in the final minute 50 there at Gillette Stadium, so that was exciting there. I said be careful. I was with Marco, man. The idea that wrong team was favored with Detroit and Baltimore, how'd that work out there, Detroit fans? So they may bounce back here this week. We'll have to see what Marco thinks about that game coming up this week as well.
Yeah, I know the Fade Joe Public play is for the college segment, but that would be the Fade Joe Public segment this week. Lions getting bet hand over fist early on, but we'll get to that game here for Monday night. First, we got to go to Thursday night, Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Buffalo is now an 8.5-point favorite. What a beautiful teaser spot here, Marco. We've got 43.5 with the Thursday night primetime game. It just looks too easy to tease Buffalo here, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And you know everybody's going to start their week out with Buffalo in teasers, with Buffalo in moneyline parlays. Is the books always cringe when you have one of these lopsided games on Thursday night football. But Kelly, the fact is you've got a Tampa Bay team that's playing on a Thursday. It's always a disadvantage to be on the road for these Thursday games. It's even more of a disadvantage if it's not a division game, because at least if it's a division game, you play that team twice a year. The preparation time on what you're going to do is a lot easier. But when it's Tampa Bay playing a team they don't play every year, that's a huge disadvantage for them. They got the travel day they got to get in there. You got to come back on 3 days rest, prep time, and play on a Thursday. I'm going to go ahead and look at Buffalo in this one. Yeah, it's as square as it can be, but do you really want any part of Tampa Bay right now? And you're getting Buffalo off of a loss. We've seen what they've done before coming off a loss. Remember the beginning of the season when they dropped that game to the Jets? What'd they do? They came back the next week and just absolutely demolished the Raiders. Of course, as we're seeing, that's not that great of a spot anymore with the Raiders the way they've been playing. But they put up 38 in that game against the Raiders and only allowed 10. I think you're going to see a similar performance from Buffalo. Yeah, at 6.5. The only way I can look is to go ahead and look at the teaser. But I'm going to tell you now, Kelly, get it now if you want to tease this game, because you're going to start to see nines pop up as the books go for the teaser blocker. And for those of you that, are new to wagering, a teaser blocker is when Vegas is going to end up pushing a game that is anywhere from 7.5 to 8.5, and just go ahead and move it on air to -9, because it's a kind of a dead number for them. But what it does do is you can't use the 6-point teaser to get down below the field goal, which is what you have to do on a teaser. You got to use that 7-point teaser, and we know that those 7-point teasers cost -140 around town. They want to get that extra juice from you. So grab it now at 8.5. Get your teasers locked in for other plays later in the week.
We'll talk more about teasers with Las Vegas Chris later on in the show. Joe Raineri, what did you see from Buffalo in that Patriots game, and how do they bounce back?
Well, throwing up is what I saw from that Buffalo defense. It was atrocious, and they've got some issues. But losing Milano at the middle linebacker spot, it was a huge loss. They lost him in that game in London a couple of weeks back. He was really the quarterback of that defense. Also, Von Miller played sparingly in that game against New England. I saw him in just a handful of plays in the first half, didn't even suit up in the second half. So keep an eye on the injury report. They're trying to ramp him up, and they could absolutely use him, because the biggest problem with the Buffalo defense was they couldn't get any pressure on Mac Jones. They just could not get to him. So if they can get to Baker Mayfield, which I believe they should be able to, are going to be just fine here. The other problem that we have with Buffalo is you got to stop turning the damn ball over. In 3 losses, we're talking 8 turnovers here, guys. We saw it again. The first play from scrimmage was an interception by Josh Allen in that game there, which eventually led to points for the Patriots. They got to stop, and Josh Allen especially has to stop turning the ball over. But starting to see a trend here. Buffalo coming out extremely slow early in games, and we've just seen this now. We saw it, of course. They were down at half against New England. They were down at the half there against the Giants. They figure it out in the second half offensively, but then they turn the ball over or do something unbelievably stupid in order to give other teams the opportunity to take advantage. I don't know that that's going to happen here with Tampa, but we're talking about a team that can't run the ball in Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield hadn't practiced early this week here, maybe just to get the bumps and bruises and heal up a little bit. But if they can't run the ball going on the road against a pissed-off Bills team here, I don't trust either team, quite honestly. After what I saw, I wouldn't go anywhere near a side in this game here. I would look more towards the total, and this is Marco sitting down. I think he is. But if I'm going to look at this game, based upon what I have seen now for the last month from this Buffalo and how slow they start going up against a decent Tampa defense, I'm looking at the under in the first half here. I think the points and the adjustments come in the second half for Buffalo like they always have, and hopefully they don't turn the ball over. But I think the under in the first half is absolutely the way to look at this game, because neither team offensively can be trusted a whole lot now. Tampa Bay averaging just 14 points here in the last 3 games. Don't trust them to score enough to get this thing up and over.
Joe just completely killed my segue. He just should have stopped when we said we can't trust these teams, because I can't trust any of these teams. None of them. Not a single one of them. This one's tough. This one's tough. Chicago, Sunday night at the LA Chargers. Chargers 8.5-point favorites, Joe Raineri. Total 52. Let me read something from the Gold Sheet this week. It has been 9 games since the Chargers last beat a team by more than 7 points. In this role as big favorites, they have failed to cover 4 straight. I don't know what to do. I don't have any idea about... During the last segment, I was texting every single one of my Survivor partners. I haven't even locked in. It's Wednesday. I haven't even locked in Chargers, and I'm already like, wait a minute. I am too scared. Somebody talk me off the ledge right now.
Well, I'm going to let Mark
answer. Right? No. It's still the Chicago Bears, right, Joe?
Yes, absolutely. Well, Justin Fields has arrived. or wait a minute, now he left again. I'm not quite sure what the deal with Justin Fields is, but shout out, Pam. Shout out to you. I will say this, though. I'm gonna
really mean, Joe. And guys, I do a show with Pam Maldonado. We adore her. She and I got in, we'll call it an elevated discussion about Justin Fields a couple of weeks ago. That being said, Joe had to throw that one in there because Justin Fields does not arrive.
No, but here to me is where the edge is in this game, Cal. We've seen it in the marketplace. This total has been steamed up from the open. It's up to about 46 now from around 43, 43 and a half. And why not? You're talking about two defenses that this season on average give up 25 or more points a game. There is no, and this is going to be the softest defense that Herbert has played here over the last couple of weeks. I gotta believe this is a game where the Chargers are gonna hit their stride offensively, and they're gonna put up what we think is more Charger-esque type of offensive football. They'll be able to run the ball. Herbert will be able to throw the ball. I don't see any way in which the Chargers don't light up the scoreboard here, getting at least 28 to 30 points. At which particular point, how much do we really trust the Chargers defense even to stop the Chicago Bears offense with a Division II school, quarterback there? So I think the edge in this game, not so much on the side, because there's a lot of ways, and I'm sure Marco will have a pick on it. But to me, I think all the value is in the over in this one. And I don't think we need a lot for Chicago to get this thing closer to 50 as opposed to closer to the low 40s, which some people thought it might. I'm on the over in 46 here.
Yeah, I don't think Marco wants to take another over within the Chargers offense, but then maybe two. That being said, Marco, I am a little apprehensive. Obviously, there's some other survivors that can be in play this week. I'm pretty adverse to taking road teams. Ariel Epstein just texted me and asked if we wanted to take her Ravens. I don't know if I want to fade the Cardinals 2 weeks in a row. I'm just in a conundrum. Is Brandon Staley going to lose this game?
If he loses this game, he should just go to the press conference afterwards, say, it's been nice, it's been fun, I'm done, because Monday morning he will be done if he loses this game. I don't know how else you can look at it, but what you do have, and this is something that's going to be a theme in all three of the primetime games, you got teams that had high expectations coming into the season, all coming off a loss in the same week, and all on national primetime games, laying big numbers. We're seeing 8.5 on this Charger game right now. If you want to tease it, which that is a very good option with the Chargers on Sunday, do it now, because you're going to see 9 on Sunday. I don't see it coming down. The Bears last week, yeah, they played well, but they were playing the Raiders. That's one. That's going to help you look good. We talked about the situation. I wanted to take the Bears last week because I thought it was a horrible spot for the Raiders. I just couldn't do it with that Division II quarterback, who, by the way, we're making a lot of fun of Tyson Badgett, but here's the guy that won the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy on the Division II level. So he does have some talent. But that's also last week. That was the injured player theory. First game, when a star goes down, not that I'm saying Justin Fields is a superstar, but he is your starting quarterback. He was out. The injured team seems to rally in that first game. And if they get the win in the first game, I generally don't want any part of them in the next one. And they got to go on the road and play the Chargers. That offense is going to light it up. Will I have teasers with the Chargers? Yes. Do I agree with the over? Yes. I'll tell you another way you can look at it, and they're not out yet, but wait for the team total. And I'm going to take a team total over on the Chargers, because this will be the softest defense that they faced. And we have seen the Charger offense has ability of scoring points. I don't know what the problem's been the last couple of weeks. They've been tight games, so they've played to the complexion, but I just see them coming out start to finish, putting up points in this one against the very bad Bears defense. Give me the Chargers just about every way you can do it on Sunday. My projected score is 34-23, so that's way up and over the total. It'll also be way up and over their team total number as well.
And for the trifecta, another team that is going to be used in every single teaser I alluded to, it would be the most public play if we did a Fade Joe Public. John Murray just texted me. He does not want to think the Lions in Survivor now after he was lobbying for them early. They're off that ugly loss because it's the most lopsided game of the week as it stands today at the Superbook. Raiders at Detroit, 8.5-point dogs, total 46.5. Marco, Detroit got a little humbled, if you will, last week against the Ravens. Was that just one of those quintessential letdown spots? They got a little too big for their britches. Maybe the Ravens are a little better than we thought.
Absolutely, Kelly. And it was my best bet last week for my clients. I was on the Baltimore side because I thought the Lions were in a horrible spot. This was a team that, they were feeling fat and sassy. They had won 4 in a row. We were getting value in the line. Baltimore at -3, I thought was a gift. I thought the line should have been 4.5, 5 points in a game, but there was too much overreaction to Baltimore playing poorly in London. They got the win, but had to settle for all of those field goals. And the narrative was, you're not going to win kicking field goals against the Lions because this offense is explosive. And if you remember the year before, Baltimore had that scare in Detroit when they almost lost. And the kicker was, look what Baltimore was coming off of going into that game last week. That game that they played in London, they played that right after they played the Steelers and they played the Cleveland Browns, their 2 biggest rivals. I like the spot this week for the Lions. They got caught looking ahead. When was the last time the Lions were on Monday Night Football? They're not on these big primetime games that often. Monday Night Football is a big deal. They looked past Baltimore. They had their clunker. That game was over in the first quarter. Never a contest. Now you've got an angry Lions team that was embarrassed, playing on Monday night in front of the home crowd, playing a Raider team that, if you want to talk about a dysfunctional family, I don't know that there's a team more dysfunctional in the NFL than the Raiders. And it's been a couple-year process of happening, from John Gruden getting, fired, to the off-the-field problems, the on-the-field mutiny between the offense, the defense. Adams is not happy. Max Crosby's not happy. They're going to lose the locker room soon, is Josh McDaniels, if he doesn't right this ship. And I don't see him righting it this week. Doesn't matter who's behind center, Jimmy G, Brian Hoyer, or the rookie, Aiden O'Connell. I don't like the Raiders. I'll be on Detroit. 3 square plays on the primetime games this week, but look at Detroit all the ways that you want to. Team total, also look at them in teasers. This will be another one come Monday. Don't be surprised you're seeing the 9s on Sunday to block the teasers. Get it now.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing that 9 a lot sooner. This week, teasers: Bills, Lions, Chargers, Dolphins, Vikings, Saints. Could have had the Titans, but now they're 3 Giants. It is, last week was great for teasers. I think the bookmakers might be baiting us a little bit this week. But Joe Raineri, do you think the Lions get a bounce back here against the lowly Raiders, or did they get exposed last week?
6-2 against the number as home favorites here, and I think it goes back to, what are they, 14 of their last 17 they have covered altogether. A lot of that, of course, in a dog roll here. I'm with Marco. I think it's best not to overthink this. It's the Monday Night Football game. While the number is still available, I would anchor my teasers with Detroit here, because even with Jimmy G, and he does look like, or at least everything we're seeing is here, that he is going to go. But so what? Even at that particular point, he is one Aiden Hutchinson sack away from crawling to the locker room again, and then we're stuck with either Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell again. So we're back to square one. I just don't see a great path for this Raiders team, who has historically been pretty decent as a, non-divisional road dog in spots like this. I don't like it for them. I don't like this team. There's too many question marks around them. They may keep it competitive, but ultimately I think the Lions run away with this thing in the second half. And like you guys said, before it gets to 9, which it will at some particular point, anchor Detroit in a couple of teasers and get it done soon here, because it will go through the roof before kickoff.
Yeah, still 8 currently. So make sure you guys are looking around for those teaser opportunities, because you can get them down to 2. Below that field goal is where we want to go. I know I don't give a lot of life lessons here. That's usually reserved for the next segment. That's what these glasses mean. Trends and angles is what we're here for. Ralph Michaels, let's bring him on in. The man with the pen, Ralph Michaels, is here. Ralph, we're talking streakers, 61% play. This year is kind of a crazy one. We've also got a nerd chart, which we also touched on in college football. And then we have 4 systems on today's TNA. Let's start off with the chart from your son, Jeff. These unders, man, just cashing at an incredible rate.
Well, Kelly, you said 61%, and what she was referring to is 61% of every NFL game has gone under the total this year. So let's take a look at the streakers and start on the right-hand side. Overs, none. Why? Because the streakers are at least 4 straight. No NFL team even has 3 straight overs. What an under season this has been. Bad quarterbacks, good defenses. I think I'll lean towards the first. We see a lot of rookie and young quarterbacks playing. Unders, 5 straight unders for Atlanta, Minnesota, and the Giants. 4 straight unders, the Chargers, Steelers, Buccaneers, and Titans. And on the left-hand side, the ATS streaks. Who would have thought the Houston Texans are going to have covered 4 straight? Jacksonville seems to have gotten their season straight, going over to London for back-to-back games. They have 4 straight ATS wins. The Carolina Panthers with 5 straight ATS losses. And the Arizona Cardinals with 4 straight ATS defeats.
That is a nice streaker there. And maybe kind of a look there for that Arizona Cardinals team to be a fade once again for the survivor pools. We'll have to see if I can break my rule and play a road team there, Ralph. Now, these glasses, well, they're here for a reason, and that's because Ralph so kindly makes me nerd charts, because that's how my brain works. So, Ralph, this week's nerd chart is kind of something we touched on in college football in terms of revenge, but now we're going to talk divisional teams who lost game 1.
Kelly, I'm going to go on a 30-second rant. I hate the word revenge more than any in sports betting. Why? People think if you lost to an opponent, you automatically have revenge. Well, let's see. If you are Northwestern and you're a 28-point dog to Ohio State and you lose, sorry, folks, you do not have revenge. So let's bring up the chart and look on the left-hand side. These are NFL division meetings, the second meeting of the season, going back to 2015. Why do I use 2015? That's when the extra points got moved back. So, Kelly, take a look at that left-hand side of the chart. In the first game, if you lost as a home favorite in game 1, you have covered game 2 64.7% of the time. That makes sense. You have revenge because you lost as a home favorite. If you lost as a home dog, you've only covered 46.2% the second meeting. If you lost as an away favorite, you've only covered 43.2% in the second meeting. And if you lost the first game as an away dog, you are 49.7% in the second meeting. So when you're looking at these division foes, this chart will be in the PDF. Remember this: the only true time you have revenge in an NFL division second meeting of the season is if you lost that first game as a home favorite. And to the right, I broke down if you are now an away favorite or an away dog, take that. If you lost the first game as a home favorite and you are now an away favorite, you've actually covered 69.2% of the time. Folks, do not use the word revenge wrong. Do not misbet the term revenge. But if you lose as a home favorite in a division meeting in the first season, that is legitimate revenge.
Ooh, legitimizing revenge, one episode at a time here on Bet On It. Ralph, you've got 4 systems for us this week in the NFL. Let's hear them.
All right, this system is a little convoluted because it says you're a home favorite, you're off a loss, and 2 games ago you won. So does it make sense to go back 2 games ago and you won and now you lost? I think so. It shows your seesaw in wins or losses. You're not on a 2-game win streak. You're not on a 2-game losing streak. And now the line is greater than -11. So that means you could be a dog of any size or a favorite to -10.5. It encompasses over 90% of the games. Since 2017, those home favorites, I misspoke there, guys. You are a home favorite up to -11. So you are -1 to -10.5. You lost your last game. You won 2 games ago. Those teams, 58 and 104. A huge sample size since 2018. Those teams have gone 35.8% against the spread. It says to fade Buffalo, fade Miami, and fade Detroit. System number 2. You lost to this opponent your last game. You are off a loss as a dog, and now you're a favorite. This goes back since 2017, excluding the COVID year, because some funky things happened in that season. So you're off a loss as a dog, and now you're in a favorite against an opponent you lost to last time. This applies to the Colts and the Lions. This system, 43 ATS wins, 85 ATS losses. That's 33.6%. This says to fade the Colts and fade the Lions. So both System 1 and System 2, both fading the Lions this week. System 3. This is an over-under, Kelly. I don't have many over-under systems, but since 2008, great sample size. Last game you won as a dog. 2 games ago you won as an away dog, and now you're on the road. So you either did road, home, road, or you're on your 3rd straight road game, like the Jets and the Giants. It applies to this team. The over-under, 16 overs, 41 unders. That is 71.9% to the under. Back-to-back wins as a dog. You're on the road this game, and you were on the road 2 games ago. That says under Jets and Giants. And the final one, how do teams do if they're off a win as a dog, and now they're a dog of +6.5 or higher? Well, listen to this, Kelly. This goes back to 2010, and this says to fade the Patriots. Teams in that role often upset, and now a big dog, have covered 26.2% of the time, and the straight-up record is 4-62. The teaser in this spot, if you tease against the Patriots this week, that teaser situation is over 90% in this role. And it makes sense. You're off a win as a dog. You're a sizable dog this time. You don't often pull those back-to-back good games. So 26.2% ATS, straight up record for teams like the Patriots, 4 wins and 62 losses. That is a 6.1% win margin. So if you're thinking about teasing Miami or fading a tease against the Patriots, it's been one of the best teaser situations I've seen in the NFL in a few years.
Oh, so sorry. Sorry, Ralph, you're done. I was putting the Dolphins in every single possible teaser combination that I can find to bet against the Patriots this week, and Dolphins off a loss. He is Ralph Michaels. You can go to his homepage, wt.buzz/RM. You can get all of his plays as well as his TNA PDF charts. Ralph, you're just simply the best. I'm going to let you go, though, because, well, it's time for Prop Shop with Andy Lang. But before, I wanted to tell you guys about the end of the year all sports special. Experience 2 months of sports betting for under $59 a week. That is NFL, college football, NHL, NBA, college basketball, UFC, soccer, golf, and, well, frankly, any other sport released by your favorite handicapper now through December 31st for $469. All right. Now time for Prop Shop with Andy Lang. And Andy, your job, you have one job, and that is to help me with my better picks lineups. And Baker Mayfield somehow had a miraculous game against the Falcons defense, except he still threw an interception. Make it make sense. Falcons, make it make sense. I don't know how they won that game, but I will take it. Another complaint, but on Andy's side, he said my best bet is the worst game that I could have given him to try to find the prop market. And that's because, well, there's some injury concerns, but that's why we're playing it as the best bet, Andy.
Injury concerns. Injury concerns. The Titans may have 3 different people throw a pass for them this week, and it's your best. There's no teams on bye. You have all the games in the world to pick. No, let's go with the Titans and the Falcons.
First of all, I'm going to be there. Second of all, it's a play against the Falcons, not on the Titans. So you could have picked something from the Falcons side of things, but never mind. Like Desmond Ridder throwing an interception. Just lay the wood all day. That being said, Andy, you have a prop bet for Thursday Night Football, so let's get into it.
Yeah, let's go with this. Let's support the Bills, even though they're coming off a very frustrating game. Let's go Josh Allen over 1.5 touchdown passes. He's gone over in 4 straight games, and the Bills only have 8 rushing touchdowns this season, and only 4 of those are by running backs. Josh Allen has the other 4 rushing touchdowns, so it's a very Josh Allen heavy scoring team. We know this. And Tampa 6th worst passing yards allowed per game. And I have to say, Kelly, so I watched that game with the Bills and the Patriots, and they start the broadcast off by saying, well, the Bills coaching staff told us they want to get the ball to everybody except Stephon Diggs to show how balanced they are. Awesome job. Awesome job. Congratulations on spreading it around and losing to the Patriots. In the end, Stephon Diggs still got 12 targets because you're going to have to get him the ball. On a short week, I think they're going to look themselves in the mirror and go, wow, that was really stupid. Now you got Dawson Knox that is out. So you're going to get a heavy dose of Dalton Kincaid and Stephon Diggs. And on a short week, why run the ball against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers that is way better against the rush than they are against the pass? I think they get back to their basics, which is a lot of Stephon Diggs, a lot of Josh Allen moving around. I think he gets over this passing touchdowns prop pretty easily. He has 4, 2, 2, and 2 in his last 4 games. Let's take the over on this one.
I have a bone to pick with you. I just saw the game that your best bet is being featured from, and you act like it's like some star-studded event outside of CJ Stroud. So let's hear your best bet for this week in the NFL.
It features a guy with the name Tank. So I'll just say that's pretty awesome. Okay. So better than your game. What's a star-studded name? I got Tank. All right, let's take the Texans, and I'm going to take the team total over 23.5. I love this number coming in just under 24. Carolina allows 31 points per game. This defense is terrible. This team is terrible. Only the Saints and the Vikings have not gotten over this total against them. The Lions and the Dolphins put up 42 points against them each of the last 2 weeks. And the Texans have not gone over this total the last 2 weeks, but they played Atlanta and New Orleans. That's the 7th and 9th best teams in the league in points allowed per game. Carolina 6th worst in yards allowed per play. Both these teams are off of a bye. I just like CJ Stroud getting his wide receivers healthy. And even though they're off a bye, I'm just not sure Carolina has the manpower or the talent on either side of the ball to hold this Texans team under. So if it goes over 24.5, I don't think I'm interested. But if it stays at this 23.5, yeah, absolutely. Give me the Texans to roll on the Panthers.
All right, great stuff. As always, rapid fire from Andy Lang because, well, I picked a terrible best bet. Andy, how about this? Maybe for our Instagram channel and Sunday morning, you can give us a prop bet for the game that I have that I can tail because I'm going to need a lot of help for this one.
They traded their star defensive player. They're talking about trading Derrick Henry. Why is this your best bet of all the games on the board? There's contrarian, and then there's this. This is a step too far, Kelly. I wish you luck on this one, but I will be staying away from props in this one, especially because you have Bijan Robinson involved in this game. So it was nothing to do with
Bijan that may or may not be sick. Got it.
My head hurts. Get in there for one of the last plays of the game. Yes, stay away from this game for the props.
At Bump Sports on Twitter, at Andy Lang Bets on Instagram, and of course, at WT.buzz/AL on the Wager Talk homepage. Thank you, Andy. Now we're going to pivot back to Joe and Marco because why? Well, we got to figure out who's fading Joe Public if the deli's open and which dogs are barking. I think we should change the sound for the segment because my stomach is growling. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that on air. I am starving, Marco, and I swear if you bring a trap game, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Well, Kelly, you're in luck. The deli is open this week. We've got the sandwich game of the week. And, that's if my mic doesn't get shut off from our producer, because I'm going against the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to take Washington in a great sandwich spot. You look at what Philadelphia is coming off of. They played back-to-back road games. They went out west, played L.A., got the win there, then had played the game against the Jets on the road, lost to the Jets, gave that one away, then had a Sunday night game again where they played the Miami Dolphins. Now, leading into that one, there was a lot of shit talking going on by both teams. It was a statement game, as I like to refer to it. And Philadelphia is the one that made the statement. They got the big win. It was a convincing win, 31-17. And to be honest with you, didn't even seem that close. Now, there's a lot of people. I know that night Twitter was lighting up the fact that the referees were only pulling flags for one team. Miami got flagged 10 times in that one. And somehow Philadelphia did not commit a penalty in that game. But whatever. I'm looking at what's in front of them. They're coming off that trio of games, the big Sunday night game. Yeah, I realize Philly in Washington's a big rivalry, division-wise and everything. But you know what? Philly's got the real team that they got to contend with up next. That's the Dallas Cowboys. So off of everything that they just did, the fact they already beat Washington, granted, it was a close game, so they can't look past them totally, but they beat them. They got Dallas on deck. This is a great spot for Washington as a home dog. Maybe we'll see Riverboat Ron gamble in this one because he's got nothing else to lose. Season is slipping away on Washington. They need to win this game. I'm going to take them plus the points here. It sets up perfectly. Philly gets caught looking ahead to the Cowboys next week. I'm calling it Washington 28-27. Give me the points. Give me a little sprinkle.
Yeah, that's disgusting. And you made me lose my appetite at this point in time. Thank you, Marco D'Angelo, for that one. Joe Raineri. I know we kind of upset some people last week with our little joke. So this week, do we have a total that's too high or not high enough? That's the PC intro to this one.
Don't know what you're talking about at all, Cal. But I will, listen, like it, hate it, it cashed last week there. As we told you, Cleveland and Indy wasn't high enough. It was flying over that total. And boy, oh boy, that thing cashed in the first half. So weren't high enough last week. I ain't high enough this week either, as the battle of the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks in last year's draft here. Finally, Carolina taking on the Houston Texans. Both of these teams coming off a bye. How is this for a stat, Cal? This is pretty cool. You ready? How about if we go back to 2002, when we have season-long starting QBs coming off a bye? That is 36-19 to the over sound, 65% to the over the last couple of decades, with an average score of around 46 points. Now, that's over 50 quarterbacks in that sample size. And when you look at who these teams have had to play, right? Look at who Stroud has had to play. He's had to go against the Saints, the Falcons, the Steelers, the Jags. We're talking top 10, top 15 defenses there that he has had to go against. Want to know where Carolina stands in that list? Yeah. How about dead last or close to dead last in just about every defensive statistical category? I think this thing goes flying over the total, much like we thought last week with Indy and Cleveland. And we're talking about a Cleveland defense that many believe is the best in the National Football League, and that didn't work out so well. Both of these quarterbacks have had an opportunity to step away, clean some things up. I certainly think that Bryce Young there, they have had a couple of weeks now to work on some stuff for him. They will have success against this Houston defense, make no mistake about it. Texas's offense is going to have more than enough success here against this Carolina defense. When you put it all together, I don't see how we are not looking at over 42.5 points in this game. I love it. I don't think we're high enough with good reason. Do not be shocked if we have ourselves a good old-fashioned shootout with two rookie quarterbacks going at it with Carolina and Houston this week.
Interesting. I think Andy Lang will be really happy to see that one. And normally I'd go back to Joe, but since we're talking about this game, we got to talk about it. Marco D'Angelo, you think the Carolina Panthers are finally going to win a football game?
I do for my barking dog. And, I think you should get extra points if it's a team's first win of the season. And that's what I'm banking on. I talk about situations about the bye and how people look and treat the bye weeks. And for me, I've always said if a team goes into their bye week on a roll, I view it as a momentum stopper. But if you go into your bye week on a sour note, things aren't going well, you're going to use those 2 weeks to right the ship. And I'll tell you what, can you go into the bye week any worse than being winless on the season? And that's what we find the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, both teams had byes last week. But here's the thing. What's Houston going to fix? Everything's looking good right now. And there's no question as far as the rookie crop of quarterbacks this year, C.J. Stroud is head and shoulders so far the head of the class. Not even close. But as Joe alluded to, with 2 weeks to prepare, and Frank Wright being a quarterback coach, he's quarterback friendly, I think they're going to go in these 2 weeks. They're going to look at the game film. They're going to look at what worked well for Bryce Young, what didn't work well for Bryce Young. They're going to take the bad stuff out of the playbook, put in some new wrinkles to his strengths, and I look for them to come out and win this ball game. That seemed, and look at it, you got a winless team only getting 3 points, but they're getting 3 points from a team that's just, again, learning how to win. They've been a train wreck for the last couple seasons, and they're doing it with a rookie quarterback. Even though he's been the best one, this is still a rookie quarterback laying points on the road. And here's the final stat for you. Found this one. It's an NFL league-wide stat. Over the last 10 years, playing on teams where the line is +3 to -3 that have lost 3 or more games to the spread in a row, that definitely is Carolina, playing against a team that is covered 2 or more against the spread, blindly taking that angle, which says to take Carolina. How do you like this for the last 10 years? 35-11 against the spread. We're going to go ahead and ride that one with the Carolina Panthers as my barking dog.
Gotta love it. Team that hasn't covered all year. It's about time. They're due, Marco. They're due. Joe, you know who's not due? Your barking dog. This one is definitely disgusting.
Oh, Cal, I am shocked here. I really am. I'm disappointed you don't like this because it's a divisional home dog of more than a touchdown. I was hoping to get a little support from you here with your team, but yes, no, it is disgusting. But we also did get a chance here to watch Denver now win a game, get a cover, right? The thing that I like about Denver going into this game is familiarity. And so everyone understands, yes, we are aware of the dominating, I think it's 16 in a row now, Cal, by Kansas City over Denver. It's absolutely been owned. Make no mistake about it. However, I mean, call me crazy here. Their last 2 trips to Denver, that being the Kansas City Chiefs, they won by 6 and 4. So this is historically, yes, it's been dominated by Kansas City, but we've got a more than a touchdown dog at home in an AFC West division rivalry game. Yeah, and listen, if they have figured some things out, and I think they have, certainly defensively, Russ is Russ here. They're capable of only so much, but I do think with the Chiefs have only topped 28 points. I think they've only gotten 4 touchdowns or more once over the last 6 times that they have played Denver. I expect them to be ready for this one. I expect too much. First of all, it's too much Travis Kelce. They've become, in many aspects, Cal, very one-dimensional here, this Kansas City Chiefs offense. I don't think it's the same old Kansas City Chiefs offense. It's Travis Kelce or bust, and I think that's a very dangerous thing going into Mile High with a Denver team here that got back in the W column, and usually things like this start to roll. So if you're going to give me more than a touchdown in a division rivalry game like this, while yes, there have been some ugly performances, The last couple have been really good defensively for Denver, and they're starting to figure some things out offensively. I got no problem taking the 7.5, opened up at 8, so I can't be that crazy as I'm seeing 7s on the board now. Somebody is betting this ugly Denver Broncos team, and why not, as long as it stays over a touchdown?
Yeah, I just went to tease the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's no longer available because it is down to 7. I don't get it. There's still a couple 7.5s on the board, but unfortunately, they don't give me minus 110 on teaser, so I'm just going to stay away. Joe, you might be a little too sharp on this one. I don't know. But either way, I'm kicking you and Marco out after that one. We're going to talk some parlays versus teasers with Las Vegas Chris. Before we bring them in, just wanted you guys to know, we all know that the king in NFL at Wager Talk is Las Vegas Chris, but apparently, news to me, he also crushes college football, combined his NFL and his college football. That puts him in the number 1 slot lifetime, up 348.5 units, 4.9% return on investment with over 2,500 football plays since the 2020 season, 56.3% winning percentage in NFL and college football. Right now, through the national championship, you can get it priced normally $389. But through this weekend, LVC, through the national championship, NFL, college football, $199 over at Wager Talk. Time to bring in Chris and see what he's going to teach us this week.
Kelly, last week, Atlanta, Seattle teaser, that one. Kansas City, San Francisco moneyline parlay, a killer for me. I had lots of San Francisco, and I had bunches of hedges, and that was a loser. So 1-1 on the picks last year. Last week, I want to talk about this week in particular. Can you guys believe that there are as many as 13 of these games able to be teased? You have Buffalo down to 2.5, Indy, New Orleans, if it gets to 1.5 either way. You have Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Dallas, Miami, the Giants, Tennessee, Minnesota or Green Bay possibly, Kansas City, Baltimore, the Chargers, in Detroit. So that's a lot of decisions. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've been focusing myself on my own betting with 3 and 4 team teaser parlays. So, example, a teaser leg is worth $2.82. So if you go to your parlay calculator, you can figure out what the values are. If you do 2 teams, it comes out to minus 120. If you do 3 teams, it comes out to plus 149. And a lot of you should be able to get plus 160, plus 170 on those. That's a lot of extra value. You take it up to 4 teams, $2.82 times 3 is plus 237. You should be able to find plus 250, plus 260, sometimes even higher. And the 5 teams, which I'm not even monkeying with, that comes up with plus 356, plus 400 is pretty easy to find in those situations. And I've seen plus 450. So something to consider. So if you like a lot of different teams to tease this week, consider 3 and 4 parlays, teasers in a parlay. And one of the ways that I would like to set it up is if you like Buffalo, that's an isolated game. So you start off your teasers with Buffalo. Then you've got this big meatball group of a lot of teams in the middle that start in the early games. And you pick whatever team you want out of there. You've got the late games. Baltimore or Kansas City you can insert in that leg. And at that point, if you've got, you can actually start to hedge a little bit. You can take a plus money line or plus point spread and kind of play both sides there and kind of protect if you have a leg after that. You also have the Chargers Sunday night as another different time, and you can end things with Detroit. And that gives you a lot of options to hedge at the back end if for whatever reason you want to hedge. So something to consider, wheeling them around with each other in 3-team bricks is probably what I would recommend. If you're going to do 4 or more, have them all time straddled so that you have the opportunity to, come back on it a little bit each time. Another thing I want to go into is 3-team parlays. Do you guys realize that a 3-team parlay actually pays better than if you were laying minus 110 on each of those? So when people say that parlays are bad, well, actually a 3-team parlay actually pays you a little bit more. So a little nugget there. As far as what I'm going to do this week, I'm going to do a 3-team teaser. I'm going to start it off with, I'm going to do a 4-team. Buffalo. And I'm going to do Philadelphia. Now, remember, I want to make a note. It's not wise usually to tease 6.5 point favorites because the money lines are oftentimes lower than the $2.82. So in this particular instance, Philadelphia is a great one because the cheapest money line is $2.90 and most of them are over $300. So getting extra value down to the pick with Philadelphia. Kansas City would be the third leg. I want to get that down to 1 if possible. And I'll finish it up with Detroit and get that under the 7. I can get that down to 2 in certain places. So, and that would pay plus 260 at DraftKings. And I think that that's kind of interesting. If it gets to the Kansas City, if you're copying this and you get to the Kansas City part, you can take a little bit of plus 7.5, see if you kind of get both sides. And I usually give out a money line parlay. I'm not going to isolate just one, but I want you to consider if you like some of these short favorites and you got clipped by Cleveland, if you bet Cleveland last week and laid the 2.5, you can get nipped by the 1 or the 2. So that's disheartening. If you'd like some of these small favorites, little money line round robin, maybe 3 or 4 teams. Take those small favorites and play them on the money line instead of laying the points, because those points do come into play. I had a loser on Green Bay plus 1.5. That was the opposite way, but 2 of my games came into play last week. So that's what I have for you guys this week. Good luck.
As always, great stuff from Las Vegas. Chris at Vegas Synergy on Twitter. Next up, you guys asked for it. We brought him back. That's right. It's time for some of that gold with the Greek Gambler. But first, 30-day all-access pass, plus you get his conference calls. That's right. This is a program with a real-time service. You get a weekly video conference call with VR. You can discuss handicapping strategy and proper bankroll management, as well as some of his favorite bets for the week. Long-term standing records at Wager Talk. Number 1 in total profit, number 1 in MLB, number 1 in MMA, number 1 in boxing, number 2 WNBA, college football, golf. This is all time, people. You can get 30 days all access with the Greek Gambler himself right now for $1.99 over at wagertalk.com at Greek_Gambler. Let's bring in Ace for some of that gold.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. And more importantly, make sure you go down there and smash that like button. And don't forget to kick in some comments. I love reading what you guys are writing. Share some best bets as well before the game kicks off, obviously. And before we dive into this week's action, because I got a lot of actionable info, I promised you, let me know in the comment section if you could get down on these teasers that are huge plus EV pop situations. You guys replied yes. So I know you guys have some books that could get down. Here's what you need to be able to get. 16 teasers, 6 points, paying you 6-1 or better. You get that, you're golden plus EV. 14 teaser, 6 points at 3-1 or better. So if you got a 14 teaser, 3-1 or better, 16 teaser, 6-1 or better. You get those odds, you could do damage. I'll give you the 6 teams, and there's 2 ways you could play. You could mix them in 16 teaser, let it go at 6-1. You could mix a couple 14 teasers with some of these teams, or you could put a ton of 2-team teasers as if around robin. If there's 6 teams, it would be 15 2-team teasers. If there's 8 teams, it would be 28 2-team teasers. Just like parlays, it's what your risk tolerance is, because as I explained before, when you're playing 14 and 16 teasers, what's going to happen is what happened to me the last 2 weeks. I was 1 team away from busting the books open. Instead, we broke even because we nailed a 14 teaser in back-to-back weeks. But Buffalo losing outright cost me sweeping the board, and the week prior was one other team. And that's what usually happens. But then that 1 week, everything falls beautifully and you do a ton of damage. So here's some of the teams that I added to those teasers. Buffalo down to -2 or 2.5. Steelers up to 8, 8.5. Titans up to 8, 8.5. Baltimore down to 2, 2.5. Chargers down to 2, 2.5. Detroit down to 2, 2.5. And pretty much that's it for right now. I know the Giants in some places are falling under that criteria as well at 2.5, but there's 3s out there. So I haven't added them yet. So let's dive into the action. We're going to start off with Thursday Night Football. Here's why. Because Buffalo, I already used in the teaser. Sent it out to subscribers as a premium play. I'll give it to you right now. I sent 2% teasers, which for me is a 0.5% of bankroll. Steam Room guys, you know what's up. And here's all I did. I tied Buffalo up with the Sunday night favorite and Buffalo up with the Monday night favorite. Taking them down to -2, 2.5 area. And if Buffalo doesn't come through for me on Thursday, then I'm obviously going to have to set up new teasers. But for now, I sent out a 2% on Buffalo with the Chargers and a 2% on Buffalo with the Lions. As long as Buffalo wins by a field goal or more on Thursday, we're just betting that the home teams do not go 0-2 on primetime this week. And more importantly, we are going through 2 key numbers of 7 and 3, putting us in the best spot to profit. So that's what I'm doing with the Thursday night game. And like I always share with you guys, some of that offensive and defensive passing success rate, because there's few metrics out there that are more predictive than these as far as correlation goes. And shout out to Ed Fang. I use his proprietary data. Got to give props where props are due. And he's one of those quants that are one of the good guys. And I love the stuff that he puts out. I'm going to share the offensive sides: San Francisco, Baltimore, Buffalo, Miami, Houston. That's San Francisco, Baltimore, Buffalo, Miami, Houston. Top 5 in offensive passing success rate. Top 5 defensive passing success rate: Cleveland, New Orleans, KC, Baltimore, Washington. Once again, only 4 teams are in the top 10 in both offensive and defense, and that's Kansas City, San Francisco, Baltimore, and Jacksonville. That's correct, Jacksonville, with coming up from behind Indianapolis Colts. 9th offensively, 11th defensively. Look at some of these teams. You may find some value in the futures market. With that out of the way, let's get right to the NFL. I'm going to get the totals out of the way, then we'll get through the sides. Let's get these totals. First off, the first move that I got was Denver, Kansas City, under 46. And multiple groups got that game as soon as it came out, wanted under money on it immediately. And then a couple overs for you. New Orleans, Indianapolis, over 41.5, over 42. And also Houston, Carolina, over 41.5, 42, and 42.5. And then 2 unders for you as well. Cleveland, Seattle, under 41, 40.5, and 40. And then Chicago and the Chargers on Monday night, 48.5, 48, 47.5, and 40 down to 47. I don't think I bet at 47, Brandon. I think 47.5 was the last that I took. But they were looking for the under for sure on Monday night. Now let's get these sides out of the way also. Atlanta Falcons, bet them on the money line as a dog when they were +1, and then also at -1, -1.5, and -2. So there's a lot of sharp money on Atlanta. Tennessee now falls under the teaser category because the line was significant, pushed so much that you can now get that teaser up to that 8.5. I know I threw Tennessee on 1 or 2 of mine. Then Seattle, the Seattle Seahawks, -3. The New York Giants +3. Notice key numbers. This week, we do have some NFL action because they wanted to get ahead of these key numbers. Baltimore, -7.5. And New England Patriots, I saw the first money come in at +13. None of the guys I work with got a piece of that, but they did come in at +10.5 and 10 on the New England Patriots side, which is why I think some shops, I don't think that's even double digits anymore. So a lot of sharp money definitely on the Patriots getting double digits against the Dolphins. Whew, that's going to do it for this week's NFL. Again, jump into the Steam Room. We'll go through each and every game every Sunday and share with you some of the methodology as far as reading the charts. line moves and how money moves the numbers on game day. You guys have a great week. Do some damage. Best of luck. Don't forget, smash that like button. Toss in those comments and best bet. I love you guys. Whether you follow, fade, or ignore, just do damage. Just do damage. Love you.
Thank you to VR for always dropping those little nuggets, if you will. Let's hope that we get on a really nice hot streak this week with his gold. And that's it. That's the end of the show. Oh, wait, I have to do best bets. Well, Joe and I swept last week. Sorry, Marco pushed. I won't remind him of that yet again. And I've got a really ugly dog here that Andy Lang made fun of, and everybody else probably is too, but I do not care. I'm going to take the +3 with the Tennessee Titans. I will be there in person. And the reason why this one is +3 is because Will Levis is making his first NFL start. We're already hearing the rebuilding rumors for the 2-4 Titans. But I have just a serious question here. Who are the Falcons to be 3-point road favorites? This is a team 9.6 points per game in their 3/road/neutral site games. They're 1-8 straight up, 3-6 against the spread in their last 9 games out of the Dome. Sure, they beat those middle of the road Buccaneers in Tampa last Sunday. And well, we should all know at this point in time the history of those road divisional underdogs, particularly here in the NFC South. And they still managed to win, even though Desmond Ridder lost 3 fumbles deep in Buccaneers territory. Come on, man. You know what to do. Back-to-back road games. You got to take the points here with the Titans. But I'm going to do half points, half money line sprinkle. Marco D'Angelo, we have a nice little promotion over at Wager Talk right now through the end of the year. Can you let everybody know what that is, as well as your best bet?
Yeah, Kelly, this special is not supposed to start to next week, but we are going to treat all of the Bet On It viewers. You can jump in a week early. And what that means is you're going to get a free week of service. Basically, get the rest of the calendar year, all sports, for $69. You get everything. That's football, basketball, college basketball will be starting, NBA started. You've got hockey. You get everything from your favorite capper for just $469 to the New Year's Eve. Get everything. Bring in New Year on a winning note. And guys, NBA started. I'm number 1 the last 3 years in NBA in Money One. I am number 3 in the last 3 years on percentage, hitting over 58% in the NBA, and number 2 on ROI. So any way you slice and dice it, we've got NBA covered. We're rolling in football, and basketball's right around the corner as far as college goes, and hockey. Join us for the rest of the season. Now let's get to the best bet for this week. And what I'm looking at, never call me a homer because I go against them as often as I go with them, and I'm going against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars, and why not? We've got the Steelers returning home from the West Coast. They came off their bye week, went on the road, and beat the Rams. I got to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm a big Steeler fan, but they were lucky to win that game. If it wasn't for a TJ Watt interception to start the second half and run the ball deep in to Jacksonville territory, setting up a short field for a touchdown, and then a very bad spot for the Rams on the final drive that let the Steelers extend the drive. They had no timeouts left. They couldn't challenge the spot, which clearly was wrong for the Rams. I'm going with it. And it's not just, I'm not pointing out just the one game. The Steelers, although they're 4-2, those 6 games, they've been out-yarded in every game. And that's because this offense just does not stretch the field. You've heard all the chatter about fire Matt Canada. It's getting worse in Pittsburgh. They're not being creative on offense. Kenny Pickett is handcuffed, doesn't go downfield enough to stretch the field. And what's been the biggest concern for Pittsburgh is they can't run the football. This is a team that makes their bread and butter running the football over the years. They're ranked 27th out of 32 teams. I'm going to go ahead, take Jacksonville, give them credit for winning last week on a Thursday. That was a horrible spot for them after 2 games in London and then playing a division rival the week before that, and then turn around and go on the road. 4 days. Now they've had 10 days to prepare for this one. And guess what? Do they have a look ahead for next week? Yeah, the look ahead is their bye week. They want to go out strong. Jacksonville wins this one. And Kelly, when you were talking about teasers, you kind of forgot to mention this one. And I'm glad you did, because this will be one of the most popular teasers. Be careful with this one. I could see Jacksonville pulling away. I've got them winning 30-13 over my Steelers.
Ooh. I actually did not put them on my list, except I actually did bet them if you look at my account. But not that many, just a couple. I could see why they would be very popular teaser spots this week. But Marco is going against the hometown team and taking the Jags. Joe Raineri, NFL. We're not halfway through, but man, does it feel like we are. Week 8, what you got for me?
All right, Cal. Well, I'm going to stick with a total this week because I do think, much like last week's Are You High, I think there's a ton of value this week. And I have a trivia question for everyone. There is only one NFL team that has averaged at least 20 or more points in every game. Does anybody want to take a guess as to who that team is? Marco, anybody? It is the Indianapolis Colts, who, by the way, just happened to go last week and take on the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. What was the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL, and took it to them. In fact, you're talking about a Browns defense that had only given up 7 touchdowns total. And what happened in that game? Yeah, they scored 5 touchdowns, drives of 75 yards, 75 yards, 75 yards, 75 yards, 57 yards, and 41 yards. This is the Colts we're talking about as one of the more prolific offenses in the NFL that nobody is talking about. And look at the defenses that they have had to play. Number 1 Ravens, number 2 Browns, the number 9 Jags twice, number 18 Titans, the Rams, and the Texans. And yet, here they are as the only team in the NFL to at least score 20 or more points in every game this year. And on the flip side, they're going against the New Orleans defense that has looked phenomenal this year, right? Yeah, great. Let's look at the teams that they have played. You ready? Offensively, the number 28 Bucks, 27 Panthers, the number 26 Patriots, 22 Packers. You're getting the point here, is that this New Orleans defense is about as overrated as they come. Now, when you put this game together, I've got an overrated New Orleans defense on a mini bye going up against the one offense that people absolutely refuse to believe is any good, but they're very good. And they also got Mr. Taylor involved in a game last week more and more. When you put this together, I don't know how in the hell this number is at 43.5. There is no way that they don't continue to do exactly what they have done. This Colts offense is going to score on this overrated defense. And the one problem that the Colts have defensively happens to be the one thing the Saints do better than anybody else, and that is throw the ball deep. The Saints are the number 1 team when it comes to pass attempts over 15 yards in the NFL. They're also number 1 when it comes to passes over 20 yards in the NFL. They are going to throw the ball on this Colts secondary, and they're going to have success. This game lands in the 50s. It doesn't land 40 or less than that. Give me the over. 43.5 right now, and I still think it ain't high enough here, so I'm going with the total. New Orleans, Indy, expect points because they'll be coming.
Ooh, another total, Marco. How do you feel? All jokes aside, Marco loves when Joe brings the totals because, well, you can rest assured I'm probably never going to bring a total on this show. And on that note, we're going to throw up that recap graphic for all of you guys that scroll to the end per usual. But again, from Ralph, Andy, Las Vegas Chris, Yanni the Greek, Joe, Marco, and I, we're going to keep cashing those tickets here on Bet On It. You can bet on that.